Hi, welcome back to It's Miracle Beauty. My name is Brandy and we are a beauty review channel. I wanted to pop in here and just say that I don't really have like the words to vocalize other than we all need to support exactly what's going on today in the Black community. This has been a long time coming, and I think that I haven't spoken up verbally in my videos yet because I kind of was unsure how to word it and kind of was struggling with it. I recorded I think 4 of them and none of them have been brought to light because I just wasn't sure I was saying the right thing, and I feel like in the situation is there's so much tension. I think that sometimes best intentions can be criticized and then worst intentions can not be. So I'm just trying to make sure I say the right thing. So first of all, I've been putting a link to George Floyd's daughter's fundraiser down below. That is for her the rest of her childhood, to make sure she doesn't struggle. That is to help her with her education, all those things that she deserves, since one of the most important people in her life were taken from her. So I have been keeping that in my description box. I also in the description box posted a link to an article that actually gives you ways to help every city, maybe not every city, a lot of cities. I mean, it's a big list. So you can directly help in a community that you care about, or the one that's close to you, or one that you see is struggling the most, whatever your judgment says. And then last of all, I probably post the most about this on Twitter. I do share articles, I share videos that need to be seen, I share ideas, things like that. So I hope that you will check those out. I do always put a social media kind of box on my videos in the very beginning if you want to see what my Twitter is. It is A Miracle Beauty because my name was taken. But I do share things there as well. I just hope that people are acting and doing what they need to do. If you don't have money to donate, then sign petitions or protest if you're able to, things like that. I do have a compromised immune system, so unfortunately with the pandemic, I cannot go out and protest or anything like that. But I am trying to support and do things like that. So I hope that you will do what you can do. This is got to be a team effort. If we are going to get through this, we all have to get through it together. And I hope that we all can somehow learn to heal and join forces and prevent this from happening to any population in the future. And I urge you, and just really can't say enough, that you need to vote. Make sure that you vote so that the people that are creating these hierarchical societies, that people have more power than others, are voted out. Most of them have been there for 30 years or 20 years or whatever, but vote them out, and let's vote in some young-minded people that can change our country the way we need it changed. The second thing I would say is that make sure that you are showing patience and grace with people. This is a high-tension situation, not just with that. We have the pandemic. We have, like, I think it's 40 million unemployed. So just try to show patience and care to your fellow human being. And I hope that you're doing well and that you have what you need. Today I'm doing the eyeshadow palette tag that Ellie Glines and Samantha March created. So this is just a review of different categories, and it's honestly really similar, and I'm not even saying that there's any like copying, but it's really similar to the pan challenge I did last fall. I gave tons of categories, and I will link that below in my Instagram. I gave a ton of different categories, so every week you change categories. That way you're getting a week of use out of each eyeshadow, and honestly, I plan to redo it again. I think I'm going to start it around my birthday and run it to the end of the year. I am in August, so be on the lookout for that. But let's get started. So I do have a list here, that's why I keep looking. It says show your newest palette. So the newest palette that I own is the Natasha Denona Safari palette. It does look like this. And I feel like this palette is either hated or loved. There's like no, you know, it's a very split opinion. I haven't used it a ton, but what I have used, I didn't have any problems with it. And I did get that during the Sephora sale, and it was on discount for I think half price. So the next one is my oldest palette. So I had older ones like the Too Faced chocolate and things like that, but I did get rid of those. So this is now my oldest palette. Don't quit your day job. Excuse me, don't quit your daydream. And it does look like it's just a really dependable neutral palette by Tarte. It's honestly really good. I use this still when I want a neutral look. I do pull this out. It just does a really great job. Then is my most expensive palette. That would be the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette. When this came out, I wanted this so bad. And so I saved my money and honestly just made sure that I purchased it as soon as possible because I knew it was limited edition. This to me is like a blend between her blue palette, which I can't think of the name of right now, and the gold palette. It just has a lot of mixed of those shades and those, you know, that color story. So I really love that palette, and every time I've used it, it's worked fantastic, so I really love it. The next one is my most affordable palette. So my most affordable palette would definitely be my e.l.f. I do own all of them. This is some of them. Actually, that's my favorite one. the e.l.f. Bite Size shadows are $3. And so far, other than a couple shades, I've actually found we're doing a collab, and I will link it up in the cards and down below, with Nona from My So-Called Life 1977 for Invisible Illness. And we're reviewing these. We each took 4 and we're doing 4 weeks of videos. It's really awesome that Drugstore has come this far. For $3, you'll get a palette that works fantastic. Next is my Everyday palette. I actually decided in January to pan this and use it whenever I'm doing an everyday look. So this is the Naked Reloaded. So inside does look like this. It is a very generic, just neutral thing. I had no intention of getting this, and then it was half price at Ulta and I got it, and I honestly think it works really well. I think it's a really good palette, and I think that it definitely is one that if you got it on sale especially, it's worth it. If you're not into neutrals, I don't think there's any reason to purchase this, but if you do like have one neutral palette that's always your palette, I think this one works really well. Make sure I didn't break it. Jesus. Okay. Next is my most colorful palette. This one is the Norvina palette. So this is the number 3, and I actually have other palettes that have a lot of colors in them, but this one I chose because it literally is all bright colors. Like, it's literally all bright rainbow colors. So I definitely do this. I have only used this, I think, 3 times, maybe 4, but I think that this actually has a better formula than her normal palettes. I actually normally like the Mana Renaissance. They're not my favorite, with the exception of a few, which I'll talk about, but so this one I thought had a better formula. Next is my biggest palette. That one was pretty easy. I did look at ounces and number of pans to make sure I chose my biggest. However, it is my Jaclyn Hill original palette. So it does look like this. And it does look like this. So this one has some really good colors. I haven't used most of the neutrals, but the color in the like smoky line I've used, and it worked great. I don't know if I have the old version or the new version because I don't have the box anymore. Yeah, I don't have the box. I don't know. I would assume this is the old version because it does function really well. It works well. Next is my smallest palette. So my smallest palette again would be the e.l.f. Bite Size shadows. This one, these are just, they work well. I already kind of did a tangent about it. They work well and they're super affordable at $3. So palette with my best memory. I actually kind of struggle with this because there's a couple that I have great memories that are tied to, but I eventually went with the Carly Bible palette. This has been kind of criticized, but I love it. I think it's great. It's one of the few Anastasia, like I was talking about, that, and I'm wearing Jackie Aina today. That palette is just the best of hers, but I'm almost hit pan on this shade. So my best memory is this is before obviously the pandemic and everything hit. My husband and I went on date night every Friday, and a lot of times I wore this. I have a lot of great memories in this. So next is a palette that's worth the hype. So I chose the On the Run by Urban Decay, and this is another Urban Decay palette that I actually purchased on sale. I waited till it was half off because I was interested in it, but I wasn't sure I could justify the price. And I absolutely love this palette. This palette, you can create neutral looks, smoky looks. I mean, you really have colorful looks. You really have so many options, but it's organized really well, so it's not overwhelming. Some colorful palettes can be overwhelming when they space everything out. You have to kind of isolate it. I like ones that create like blocks that you can use together. So that one's definitely one that was worth the hype. One that was not worth the hype, honestly, like ticked me off because it's one of the items that were in it, is the BoxyCharm Hello Charmers palette. So this is one of the palettes we received in place of a name brand. Like, you could have got a name brand palette. And it does look like this. I've only used this twice. In both times, I could not even salvage a look out of it. Like, it literally was junk. So this one is like literally a piece of crap. You can't even use it. This one and this one look like they're going to be really pretty, but they don't come out like that. And then the yellow was okay. I haven't used most of the matte shades, but I did swipe some of them and it was just bleh. So this is one that's not worth the hype. I mainly use this as reference, like to research back to and kind of what's going on or compare to other palettes or shades or, you know, formulas, things like that. So a palette from my favorite brand is, the Kathleen Light's So Jaded palette. I love this palette. This is one, the minute I saw it, I was like, that will be bought. I think I've used this 4 or 5 times since I got it because I do have so many, I rotate a lot. But every time I do it, it makes it look with ease. It doesn't have any like issues and it just looks really good. And again, this, if you don't want a huge palette collection, you want just 1 or 2, this is one you could lose alone. You have neutrals in here, you have colors. I don't use these pressed glitters, but you have everything you could ask for in one palette. So I think that's a great one. If you only wanted one palette, I think this one would serve you well. So the last one I actually cheated and picked 2 for because it was the truth. It literally is what the truth is. These are my most used palettes. So the first one is the Pineapple palette by Tarte. As you can see, I've been panning it since last year. And then it does look like this. You actually have a like blush, and I think that's supposed to be a blush too, blush and highlighter. And then you have the eyeshadows. I only use the eyeshadows. I personally don't like, I'm trying to find a way to show this without blinding you. I personally don't like the face products as much, even though I do love Tarte's formula. These shades just don't do it for me. So I have already hit pan in one shade. I'm close to pan in a couple other shades, and I am panning this in my Graveyard Project pan, which I will tag in the cards. So the last one is one that, again, I cheated and picked 2 for this category. It is most used, but this is the truth. I mean, I'm about to hit pan on these. So this is the Mini Gold palette by Natasha Denona. It does look like that. And it does look like this. So it's literally these 3 shimmers. I use all 3 of them typically when I use this, and they just work so good. Like they're butter. You don't have to mess with them, and my eyes always come out great. So that is why I chose that. So that is my palette collection, and I do thank Samantha March and Allie Glines for creating this tag. I think it's definitely one that helps people see different categories and kind of put them into that, so makes you really review your collection. So that is definitely a thanks to them. If you like makeup reviews, unboxings, mystery bags, things like that, I hope that you will like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and I hope I see you again soon.